Thank you, Mr. Roy. I told everybody here tonight, Mr. Roy is probably tired of fooling with us tonight. We've asked him for pieces of paper and plug-ins and power strips and everything else, but we're thankful for Mr. Roy. He does a good job for us. Thank everybody for being here tonight at the County Commission meeting, May the 9th, 2016. We always start our meetings out with prayer, and I want to ask Commissioner Winfrey, if he will, to lead us in prayer.
Father, we thank you for today, for being able to be here tonight. We thank you for our country, the freedom that we enjoy, Lord, that we can take part in our own government. We just pray, Lord, that you bless us, that you watch over us, that you give us the wisdom we need to make good decisions. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. Commissioner Jones, you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Roy. All right, this time we're going to ask Ms. Daisy Denton, if she will, to do roll call of the members of the commission that are present.
Billy Halliburton.
Here.
Mark Jones.
Here.
Glenn Reese.
Here.
Randy Glover.
Here.
Philip Enoch.
Here.
Billy Bass.
Here.
Jimmy Winfrey.
Here.
Carolyn Bowles. Daniel Cripps.
Here.
Pam Billington.
Here.
Shannon Minchie.
Here.
Josh Kirby.
Here.
Ron Cowan.
Here.
Linda Nixon.
Here.
Bill Woodard.
Here.
Barbara Knappel.
Here.
Sabra Hodge.
Here.
Charles Kent.
Here.
Joey Nixon.
Here.
Tommy Bain.
Here.
Dennis Hackett.
Here.
Thomas Gibbs.
Here.
David Gross.
Here.
Frank Woodard.
Here.
All right, we have 24 commissioners present. Thank everybody for being here and being present tonight. Also, I'd like to make recognition of those members that are here tonight with the Adult Leadership Program of Smith County 2016. As I call your name, if you will, stand. Ms. Teresa Mofield, Ms. Janice Bowman, Ms. Mary Draper, Holly Upchurch, Ms. Carolyn Bowles. You got to stand up like your classmates. Come on, man. And Miss Pam Billington and Mr. Kobe McKinney. All right, thank you all for attending tonight. And as part of their requirements on the Adult Leadership Program, and Bill, Bill Woodard, where are you? There you are. There's not a signature place on there for me to sign. I always make one, so they think it's an honor system. So you might want to straighten that out.
Okay, I'll put a
I'm just kidding. But it's good to have you with us tonight, and it should be a fairly short agenda tonight, we hope. All right. Moving on to item number 5, approval of the March 14, 2016 commission minutes. They were sent in your packet from March 14, 2016. Were there any questions or any changes to be made to the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Bill Woodard, second by Carolyn Bowles. Is that right, Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to approve the March 14, 2016 minutes. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, Mr. Charlie Curtis is with us tonight. He's the Executive Director of the Tennessee County Commissioners Association. I'd like for him to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he does, and then I'm going to open the floor for questions to you, Mr. Charlie. I know it's kind of,
right here.
Come on up here where everybody can see you.
I can talk back to people say it.
You might give a little bit about your background too, whatever you want to say there, Mr. Charlie.
Hey, I want to first say it's certainly an honor to be here. It's amazing. I'm going across the state and testing all the county commissions, and I think you're 64th, the 64th one I've gone. Each one's uniquely different. Every one does something just a little bit different. But I want to say it's an honor to be here, and I consider, I'm thankful for the opportunity. I called Mayor Nesbitt and asked him if there's a possibility of coming this month, and he said he would try to work it in. But my name's Charlie Curtis. I work for you as county commissioners. I'm the only employee, so if things go south, I'm the only one you're going to get the chew on. I am. But it's like I lived half my life getting ready to do what I'm doing. I started out my political life accidentally. I was elected fire chief in a community that there's a Halliburton board. moved out of Defeated Creek and come up my way. I was elected fire chief in that community back in '78. And after serving 4 years as fire chief, I ran for the county commission, was elected in '82. And in '86, I was elected county executive of White County. And then in '94, I was elected to the General Assembly, and I was re-elected 9 more times. I was elected to 10 terms in Tennessee General Assembly. I left December 31st of 13 to take this job. I'd elected not to run again, and about 3 or 4 months after announcing I wasn't going to run anymore, I got offered this job working with the county commissioners. And so after praying about it and talking to my bride, I decided to take the job. I work for you. Most of my time during session, I'm watching legislation. This past year, just for your information, there was 3,751 pieces of legislation filed. That's counting House bills, Senate bills, HGRs, SJRs, and just pure resolutions. But the 2 years combined, there was 7,615 pieces of legislation filed. In those 2 years, there was really less than 100 that really directly impacted county commissioners or county governments where we thought it would be a benefit or it would be negative toward the county commission. I'm governed by a board of county commissioners, and we review the bills in late January and decide what we're going to be for and against. And while I'm talking, before I let it leave my one track, CTAS is probably the greatest friend we got in county government, County Technical Assistance Service. And they're changing their training some, because if you're farming or if you're working, you can't just take off in the middle of the week and go spend a day or two somewhere taking training. They're starting to do more training by webinars. Just like if they do the budget process, the whole budget cycle, it'll be on the internet and you can look at it anytime you want to, look at any segment of it you want to. So it's your own leisure. So they're evolving to that, and I'm trying to make that announcement. But the main reason I'm going around, I want you to understand, I'm not some dignitary or some bureaucrat stuck off in a building down there in Nashville. I live on a farm in White County, same farm my great-grandfather owned, the same one my grandfather owned. If the good Lord don't move me somewhere, I'm going to die right there where I'm at. I don't plan on going anywhere. But I want you to feel comfortable calling me. I don't know it all. I promise you I don't know it all. But I've got a lot of assets. If you ask me something I don't know, I'm able to dig and generally come up with an answer in a relatively short period of time. We got CTAS representatives. The guy that serves this county, he may have 15 counties. Well, you may be trying to get a hold of him, and you can't. Call me. I took the liberty to pass my card out. I try to get a card at every one station. That's got every phone number I got. It's got my office number, my cell number, and my home phone. I want you to feel comfortable calling me. I tell people, if you want to call me at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, have at it. You're not going to make me mad, but my wife won't talk to me for a week or two if you do. But if you got to call me, call me. I've been sharing with counties, there's 2 rules I live by. And Michael and I go way back. We've served together quite a bit over the past few years. I read something a long time ago that really changed the way I interact with my fellow man. I never had any problem interacting with women because I was kind to women, but sometimes I'd butt heads with men, and I read something one day and it changed my philosophy in life. It said, speak well of your enemies, you made them. And that sounds funny at first, but if you really ponder it a little bit, it's a pretty profound statement, because if somebody hates you or despises you, you had a little something to do with it. You may not have caused it. You may have not started it, but you could have said something differently. So it really changed my life and the way I deal with people. The last bit of wisdom I want to give you is biblical. If you have to twist or turn the truth to get what you want, God's not in it. And if God's not in it, you don't want it. You may be happy for a short period of time, but you ain't going to be happy long, trust me. I've been that route, and I'm telling you from experience. I want to thank you again for the opportunity of being here tonight. And the mayor said something about opening it up for questions. I'll be tickled to try to answer anything you ask me, but I want to again say it's an honor to be standing before you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. And I did include his information in their packets. It's on pages 3 through 5, I believe it's great. And it's got it's got addresses and telephone numbers. But this is the opportunity, Mr. Charlie, as he said, he went across the state. Still got several to go, it sounds like, and but he's not here every time. So if y'all have questions you would like to ask him now, Mr. Mark Jones, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, sir. Would you be more of a lobbyist or a liaison with the General Assembly?
Well, a lobbyist, you'd have to label him as a lobbyist. They made me register as a lobbyist. I legally didn't have to, but I did. The board wanted me to register, but I legally didn't have to.
So if we wanted to prompt the General Assembly for assistance, you would be our man.
I would certainly be one, but as I alluded to earlier, I work for a board. There's about 28 members on the county commissioners board, and they're all county commissioners. But they decide what we're going to be for or against. But I'll help you any way I can. Yes, I would be the ideal person to call if you want to know what's going on and you want to put in your 2 cents worth. And I'll try to give you all the guidance I can.
Charlie, I would say, I think where you were going with that, if he had something that might need to be brought to the legislature,
Yes,
if he
sir.
let you aware of it, you could present it to your board,
That's correct.
and then they might decide not, or they could decide yes. And if they decide yes, then they're going to go and send you to lobby with the legislators, right?
That's correct.
And if it's not, you would let a person know that it's not something they decided.
And
to
I'd
do.
also let them know, I'd help them knowing who to contact, what buttons to push, and what buttons not to push.
Okay.
But no, I'll give you all the guidance I can.
Okay. Mr. Woodard?
Just to like to say, I appreciate the newsletter, you send it out, and I get that, and it's very informative, I appreciate it.
I was impressed with you the first time I laid eyes on you, and I'm still impressed with you, Mr. Word.
Appreciate it.
Other questions?
Well, I want to again thank you, and all I got to say is I hope and pray God blesses each one of you and your families, and y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie.
Thanks, sir.
Have a good night. You're welcome to stay with us as long as you'd like.
I'd love to, but I believe I'm going to see my daughter.
It'll be a lot more
One thing
fun.
I didn't tell you is, when I took this job, I promised them I'd go to all 95 counties. And I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but after I got to looking, 42 counties meet on the third Monday night. And it took me about 6 months to figure they were only 12 of them a year. So it's going to take me a few more months to get through it.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. All right, moving on to item number 7, found on page 6 through 8. Just want to make y'all aware of something that has been presented to us from the comptroller's office, and of course, Mr. Belder, he's been involved with this from the onset and even before. We've had certain policies in place, but not enough is what it says. But on page 6, I want to read that first paragraph to you. This comes from the comptroller's office, Office of Local Audit. Local governments and other entities detailed below must establish and maintain an adequate internal control system for purposes of financial reporting, managing operations, and legal compliance. If you return to page 7, it actually was voted on by the state legislature, and on page 8, it was signed into law by Speaker of the Senate, Ron Ramsey, and Speaker of the House, Beth Harrell. And what it says, you can read that on page 7, it tells about those internal control policies that have to be in place. We're already working on those, and they really have to be finished by June the 30th, but they have basically said, if you'll get us something to start with, we know that you're trying, and the audit will help us if we have deficiencies in that. We were sent one today from UT Extension Office, and I forwarded that to Mr. Belder. He's worked on some things with Mr. Turner here in this building, and we're starting in on that process now. I say starting, we've been to classes and things like that, so we've got to get those internal control policies in place. We went through Sherry Davis in my office and Daisy Denton, we went through a question session. Basically, we questioned ourselves how we were doing certain things, and we see some things we were doing right, some things we're going to have to do differently. I won't say that it's necessarily wrong, but they want us to do it differently about internal control policies. So we're working on that. I just wanted you to be aware, because there is a June 30th deadline, and you as the county commissioners, if you see anybody that's a county official, the sheriff's here today, I think he's probably working on the same thing. If you see somebody, just let them know that you know that there is a deadline. And if you'll notice, it says that this act takes effect June the 30th, 2016. So we have to have something in place, and it will be a living, breathing document that for a long time to come, just like personnel policies and things like that are concerned. So I just wanted you to be aware of it. And And if we get a finding on it, you know, we've just recently went through a bond rating, we've got a good bond rating, it could affect our bond rating. So we need to make sure that everybody is doing something and understanding that that's something we can work on if we get it incorrectly or if we don't have it exactly right, okay? Any questions concerning that? Yes, ma'am.
Has each department been appraised of this and made aware that?
Yes, ma'am. They actually were all sent notices to training that, I know Cliffa was there, I was there, you went with me too, and other elected officials were, but they had them different days and different locations, but yes, ma'am. Mhm. Any other questions concerning that? All right. A lot of these are presentation of minutes. I'll just go through them. If you have any one of those you want to ask questions about, no vote needed. But the first one, that's not a misprint. That is the emergency food and shelter minutes from March the 30th of 2015. This committee only meets twice per year. One of them is to approve the agency that would get the money. It's federal money that comes down. It's been awarded over the years to the Upcoming Human Resource Agency. In the last several years, it's gone to the Help Center. And its purpose is exactly what it says, emergency food and shelter. And it's been anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 per year, and they get that to help. And the Help Center is doing a good job with it. But those are the minutes from that March 30, 2015 meeting. Also, item number 9 is the minutes from our Courthouse and Jail Committee meeting on March 21st, 2016. Item 10 is minutes from March 22nd, Ag Center Committee meeting. And item number 11 is minutes from the March 28th BZA appeals meeting. Item number 12 is the minutes from the Budget and Finance on March 29th. Also, the minutes from March 31st, Budget and Finance. Item number 13. Item number 14 is the Budget and Finance minutes from April the 11th. Also, another Budget and Finance, as y'all been saying, we've been doing a lot of Budget and Finance. April the 14th, and then April the 18th is the Smith County Planning Commission meeting. The 18th, also that night, we had a Budget and Finance meeting. And April the 21st, we had the last meeting for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program for the fiscal year ending 2015, I believe is right. And item number 19 is the minutes that were from the Budget and Finance on April the 21st. And that's all the minutes that we have to present to you. And the reason that I do that, I'll get to you in just a second, Dave. The reason I do that a lot of times is some of you don't serve on those committees, and it's good for you to know what's going on, and you can read those in the minutes, and you're welcome to call me or call the chairman at any time to ask them questions, anything. Commissioner Gross?
Reference to the minutes on the Budget and Finance, March 31st, on page 20.
Yes, sir.
At the top, you got the late Honorable Frank Gill mentioned during the meeting. I think it should be Frank Wood and Frank Gill.
Okay, you're exactly right. Sorry about that. We'll get that corrected, sir. Tonight I was handing out, Frank must still be with us, by the way. Tonight I was handing out these oaths of office, and I looked and I've got Frank's, and as y'all told y'all, those are the original copies for y'all to frame, and we just never had given those to you, and that was when you were elected in 2014. So that's 2 instances his name's already been thought of tonight. So did anybody else see any other corrections? Have any questions on any of them that you can ask myself or the chairman of either committee? All right, moving on to item number 20. Y'all had approved for us to borrow the money for a new ambulance, $86,687, which the ambulance has been ordered, and it is probably within, 30 days being delivered, Jeff? Or?
About 10 days.
About 10 days, okay. So it'll be here very shortly. Can't be here quick enough, can it, Jeff? We've got several ambulances with a lot of miles on them. So this is supposed to be presented to the county commission following when we borrow the money, and it tells you the bank, it tells you the amount, it tells you the rate, it shows the amortization, and I don't need to vote on it, but after it's presented, I can sign that and send it to the comptroller's office. Any questions concerning the ambulance service note?
I got one more 33, second paragraph. It says that, in reference to the highway department fund, if you spoke to the trustee's office on May the 15th, is that supposed to be April the 15th, or is that May the 15th of last year?
Let's see here.
But it was April the 15th. Is that when you met with them?
About the 4th?
Yeah, it should be April the 15th. Yes, sir. You'd be amazed. Of course, if people type them up, read them, I read them, and then y'all read them, and we can still find mistakes. You wouldn't believe how many that we find throughout the process, so I appreciate it.
When you can't move and sit at home, this is good reason.
If you can't sleep well,
Can't sleep well, keep your back in that reason.
all right. Thank you, David. And if you see any more anytime during the process tonight, holler at me, or do what?
I got a bunch of more.
All right. Or if you see any afterwards, it'll be fine. All right, moving on to item 21, 22, and 23, found on pages 42 through 54. Now we can, Mr. Smith is here tonight, and Melinda, she told me that Mr. Cole couldn't be here tonight. He's under the weather, so we need to remember him. And Mr. Smith's here if he needs to answer any questions. I'm here as far as the mayor's financial report. You were given these. They're on those pages 42 through 54. Any question concerning any of the financial reports? Does anybody want any voted on separately? I would ask for approval of all three after y'all review them or talk about it. Any questions?
Motion to approve all three.
I have a motion by Bill Woodard to approve items 21, 22, and 23. Do I hear a second? Second by Josh Kirby. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton. Mark Jones. Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover.
Yes.
Philip Enoch. Billy Bass. Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps.
Yes.
Pam Billington.
Yes.
Shannon Minchie. Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan.
Yes.
Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Sabra Hodge. Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon. Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross.
Yes.
Frank Woodard.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 24, Smith County Trustees 2014 Real Estate and Public Utility Tax Roll Report. This is given to us once a year from Ms. Leanne Williams. And she had submitted this as of this would be as of May the 9th, 2016. And I think she signed this on the 7th day of April the 1st. So she asked for approval of the tax roll report each year. You've had an opportunity to review it. What's the will of the commission? This, by the way, this is the ones that she sends on to the clerk and master's office for further collection. Motion by Charles Kent. To hear a second to Frank Woodard. Did you do that? Who did? David. Okay. Motion by Charles Kent, second by David Gross to approve the item number 24, Smith County Trustees 2014 Real Estate and Public Utility Tax Roll Report. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton. Mark Jones. Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover. Philip Enoch. Billy Bass. Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps. Pam Billington.
Yes.
Shannon Minchie. Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan. Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Sabra Hodge.
Yes.
Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon.
Yes.
Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross. Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 25 and 26. Both of these are budget amendments. Resolution 1 is dealing with general fund budget amendments, and Resolution 2 is dealing with 207 landfill budget amendments. Mr. Bradley is here tonight. If y'all need to ask any questions to either one of us on the 207, I'll go down through these budget amendments. There's not a lot of detail, but first block is dealing with the Election Commission. She is moving money from some expense lines and putting them into the data processing equipment. And what that is, there's poll pads. She bought a few poll pads last year's budget, and she was going to buy some this year, and then she'll finish up and buy some more. These pole pads are put at each precinct. Daisy's actually, you got to see them, right? But they have been, some of these have already been purchased. She's asking for a budget amendment to purchase and pay for the rest of those for this year. And she is moving money within her own budget. Within the Sheriff's Department, he's asking for money to be moved within his department out of gasoline into the line items that you see. Under the jail, he's asking for a couple items to be increased there, and all of that balances out with the amount he's moving out of gasoline. Under the public safety grants, this is dealing with the Drug Coalition, or the Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition. Ms. Barbara Knappel is here tonight as the director there, and she would answer any questions, but she's moving money within her budget, other than a contribution that was given to her of $2,300, asking for it to be put under instructional supplies. Page 58, this is a second grant that Ms. Barbara is in charge of with the Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition, asking for monies to be moved from expense items to expense items. No fund balance decreases. Under the library, there was an additional donation that was given of $1,226, asking for that to go under books and media and other supplies and materials. And the last one on this budget amendment, under the Parks and Fair Boards, asking for money to be increased under donations, put under building improvements. And this is actually, I put the wrong thing on here. If you notice on the Big Girls softball field over Crump Parish, there's a brand new scoreboard that's on that field. That scoreboard cost about $3,500, something like that. Mr. Kirby Comstock, which works for Bonnell, and he's very involved with, he's actually over the softball league there at Crump Parish. He was able to get enough donations to pay for $3,100 of it. So essentially the county spent $300 or $400 on a new scoreboard, and it's wireless, and it's transmitted from the announcer stand, ball field announcer stand out to the scoreboard. It's just like the one at the soccer field. So if you see Mr. Comstock, he put in a lot of work on getting some donations for that, and so it's a brand new scoreboard. So this is asking for that money to be, it was donated, asked for it to be put in that budget line to pay for it. Any questions on Resolution 1? Resolution 2 is dealing with the landfill. All of these items are being moved from expense items to other expense items. No fund balance decreases there. And y'all got those, so you know what they are. Anybody want to move either one of these out and vote on separately? Any questions on either one of them? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve both, if you'd like.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Linda Nixon, second by Ms. Pam Billington. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call.
Billy Halliburton. Mark Jones.
Yes.
Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover. Philip Enoch. Billy Bass. Jimmy Winfrey. Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps. Pam Billington. Shannon Minchie. Josh Kirby. Ron Cowan. Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard. Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Saber Hodge.
Yes.
Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon. Tommy Bain. Dennis Hackett. Thomas Gibbs. David Gross. Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. Item number 27, consideration of Right Track 3 Class 1 Phase 1 and 2 permit application. Barge Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon contract and budget amendments for 2015-16 approval. There's no need for approval as far as the contract is concerned. Well, we do need to approve the contract. Would you agree, Mr. Miller, as far as a legal binding contract? We went through a process that we advertised for statement of qualifications. There were 4 or 5 engineering groups that submitted proposals for qualifications, and out of those, the Solid Waste Committee recommended to myself that we hire Barge Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon for the new sale that we're trying to get permitted. And Brandon, do you want to speak a little bit about the contract, if you don't mind?
The contract is, as far as form and content, I've reviewed it and approved of it. There are some items of clarification that we will be getting with the council for Barge Wagner, Sumner, Cannon, make sure that we're clear about the interpretation of it. Other than that, the four corners of the document is solid, that it does require that part of the contract that any phase of their work will be submitted by a task order that the mayor will have to approve. So we'll know with each individual phase of that contract what exactly is being done will be invoiced accordingly. Of course, one of the things we've still got to get is make sure that their invoices are straight with us. Other than that, I've approved it, and it is legally, it is in its proper form and proper format.
Brandon, if you could answer this question for me. Of course, we don't have a formal contract, a finalized formal contract, because there were some points of clarification that you had. Overall, the contract looked good to you. Would it be proper and in order if this body so chose to make a motion to approve, subject to your approval, Solid Waste Chairman's approval, and the Budget Finance Chairman's approval, and mine, that we could go forward with this, because we really don't have a lot of time to delay?
I agree, and that based on, of course, that I'll let you go into the details about why that June window we have, but with that also granting you the authority, once that's done, to execute that contract, may also be in order as well.
Okay. And when we get through discussing this, we'll ask for that motion, whether y'all give that or not. I'm going to ask for that. Mr. Bradley, you would say time is of an essence as far as we have to have a groundwater monitoring samples taken in the dry part of the year, which is coming up, and then in the wet part of the year, which would be next year. If we miss one of those, we could be delayed a year. Is that correct? So it is important. We're early enough in the game, we can get that done. We have an estimated life calculation, probably 4 years and maybe a month, something like that. And it's going to take about 3 years to get a permit. That's the way we understood with them the other day. And so by the time you get your construction, they said 2.5 to 3 years to get your construction. We're going to be right at the time that we'll need. So as you can tell, we're kind of in a pinch right now. And the reason that you didn't have that information in your packet, wasn't trying to hide anything from you. The bottom line is time is catching up with us quick. So we had our solid waste meeting, we had our budget and finance meeting tonight. And what y'all be interested in more than anything, we did choose Barge Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon, and we have been given an estimate on what we were going to have to spend in this year's budget to be able to apply for our permit, get some items that needed to be done for the state, and that estimate was given to us at about $160,000. Well, after Barge Wagner was chose for the engineer, we have been given an estimate of $114,000. That's not an estimate. It's an amount not to exceed $114,565. So there is quite a bit of difference between 160 and 114, as y'all can see. But we're going to ask for a budget amendment, not asking for money to be borrowed to cover that between now and the end of the year. Commissioner Enoch, I know you weren't able to be here tonight, but we did have that meeting and it was approved. We have the amendment.
I talked to Joey about it.
All right. But the amendment that was requested and approved by the Budget and Finance Committee tonight, Mr. Nixon, you want to discuss that any?
No, we voted unanimously to approve that, and there was the 19,000.
Yeah, the 19,824.40.
4,000. We unanimously voted to pull it from the fund balance.
Okay. The total budget amendment was $134,390. It was requested we put that in engineering fees and take that from the fund balance in the solid waste fund. And we would ask for two different motions. The first one be that we approve the contract subject to the attorney getting a final draft that he feels comfortable with as far as the county is concerned, solid waste chairman reviewing it, budget and finance chairman reviewing it, and myself. We will have a special called meeting more than likely in June dealing with our budget, trying to approve it. I think we're going to be able to approve it, but actually we need this contract signed probably tomorrow as far as that goes. So I'm depending on y'all. We got to go forward if we're going to stay in the solid waste business, and we're going to keep on taking the trash from the cities and the different places around here. So that's the first request. What's the will of the county commission as far as the contract with Barge Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon?
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
One of the main reasons we chose Barge and Wagner, we have worked with them pretty good before. They were working here with the jail when it was built. They've done a lot of work at the Ag Center. Mr. Winfrey worked with them pretty regular here at this jail, and they've done everything it said they'd do. Matter of fact, I believe this jail come in probably $200,000 under budget. That was a big factor in why we chose them. All the ones that brought and presented their programs, they were all capable of doing what we were doing, but now some of them had to do a lot of leasing out work, and Barge Wagner does just about all of it. That's one of the bigger reasons we chose them.
What was stated by Barge Wagner is they can do everything but the core drilling, and they can't do the core drilling, but they can do everything else. Anything else, Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Any questions concerning the request for on approval of the contract? What's the will of the commission?
Motion approved.
Who seconded? Okay, Dennis Hackett, couldn't see. All right, got a motion by Philip Enoch, second by Dennis Hackett to approve the contract subject to the attorney's approval, the Solid Waste Committee Chairman and the Budget and Finance Chairman and the Mayor's approval. Anyone want to speak to the motion?
Is the core drilling part, is it in these funds that we're talking about
Let's see.
next year?
Roger, when will the core drilling be done? It'll be done in next year's budget, right? Yes, sir. So it's not. See, the hydrogeological study, which is part of the core drilling, it will come in next year's budget. Matter of fact, there will be additional monies, but we're going to get into some expenses. We'll probably have to borrow some money at some point in time. Right now, we don't feel like we have to borrow this.
Also, Michael, those that we have done.
Yes, sir.
Just making-
Yeah, we've already had some of that property that's been drilled, and they're going to use that data, plus they're going to drill in other locations to see what's below the surface. And they feel like that portion of the landfill will mirror what we've already been working in because it's adjoining property. And of course, when we were working on that, we did hit a very sizable rock out there, which they had to go over the top of that. Didn't blast or anything, but then it did hurt us on our space that we could use. But we were able to work around that. So we'll get that core drilling done, but that's not in this figure. This is, I'll tell you what this includes, Billy. I'm glad you brought that up. Of course, there will be some preliminary engineering that'll be in this. Also, they're going to give us a cost estimate on what it's going to cost to build these. It's going to be how many acres? 20 acres, Roger, in 2 phases. 10 acres each phase. We're going to do the 10 acres first, and the second 10 we'll do that later, so it'll be in 2 different phases. And they, more than likely, we just had our life calcs done. We probably won't repeat that. And by the way, it only cost us $2,500. She was asking about how much it cost. So we will get that hydrogeological study done in the core drilling later. And what this includes is what I said is preliminary engineering, filling out the application and doing some of the hydro work and getting that stuff into the state. Any other questions?
That live count Michael's talking about, they do that every January, yearly. And we had it done this past January, see how far you go up. And we had decided if it was too expensive, we wouldn't redo it because we'll have to do it again next January anyway.
Great. And I'll probably leave that up to the engineers because at no more than that cost, if they feel comfortable doing it themselves, again, we may do that. It just depends. But the first portion of this, the $19,824, actually this is the cost of work that would be associated with the biannual reporting to TDEC, the methane monitoring, the class 1 and 2 landfill, stormwater sampling for compliance, and there's some tests they have to do throughout the year. That's what the first amount is. Then the other work order is to do the preliminary engineering, fill out the Part 1 application to TDEC, the monitoring work plan, and initiating groundwater sampling for the hydrogeological study. So they'll have to put a plan before them before that we can actually do it. Any other questions on the motion? And we're voting on the contract right now is all we're voting on. All right. Roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton.
Yes.
Mark Jones.
Yes.
Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover.
Yes.
Philip Enoch.
Yes.
Billy Bass.
Yes.
Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps.
Yes.
Pam Billington.
Yes.
Shannon Minchie.
Yes.
Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan.
Yes.
Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Sabre Hodge.
Yes.
Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon.
Yes.
Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross.
Yes.
Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. Second portion of item 27 is dealing with the budget amendment where we can actually pay them for doing the services that they'll need. I understand both of these things say up to the maximum, and they only bill us by the job or by the hour. So this is the maximum. Two figures that this can be is $134,390 for both of those. Understand we already had in our budget for some of this testing anyway, so this will continue. Matter of fact, probably got enough in the budget to take care of all the testing because this is our day-to-day stuff. But just, I guess, to make sure we're safe, if we can get a motion to approve the budget amendment, taking it out of the fund balance, we would appreciate it. What's the will of the commission on the $134,390 budget amendment?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Charles Kent. Here a second.
Second.
Who did that? Glenn Reese. Second. I have got a motion and a second. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton. Yes. Mark Jones.
Yes.
Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover.
Yes.
Philip Enoch.
Yes.
Billy Bass.
Yes.
Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps. Pam Billington.
Yes.
Shannon Michie.
Yes.
Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan.
Yes.
Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Sabra Hodge.
Yes.
Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon.
Yes.
Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross. Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. And while I'm thinking about it, of course, you had a lot of minutes in here from Budget and Finance. Last year, it was requested that we send out notices to all the county commissioners where they would be aware of those Budget and Finance minutes or meetings. I encourage y'all to come because trying to tell you what we've done in 6 to 8 meetings, whatever we've had, is hard to do in just a few minutes. And honestly, you can't even get the full effect by reading the minutes. And on our solid waste, that's a very important part, believe it or not, of what county government does. And I've told Roger every day, I mean, it's something you have to deal with every day. People are going to continue to bring trash. You know, I was asked a long time ago, can we close the landfill down? Yes, when you stop bringing trash. I guess when we can do that. Well, everybody's going to continue to bring trash. But I would encourage you to come to the meetings, kind of see what goes on, what you deal with. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars here to the county, you know, to county residents. And, you know, the landfill is a big part of what we do. And so far, we've been able to keep that off of the back of the taxpayer. Every time somebody goes into a convenience site and they throw their trash away, it's not costing them anything at this point in time. And we've done some estimated cost. I feel pretty comfortable we can do that out to about, I think my projection was out to at least 2026. So when I'm talking about trying to keep that budget going, and it's an everyday looking and making sure we can make things work. Landfills are not cheap by no means. But it is a part of what we do. Right now, recyclables, the price of those are down a lot. We've struggled with recyclable goods, trying to get somebody to take. Now at least we've got somebody that can take a portion of them. So that's just some of the things we deal with every day. You know, TDEC does inspect our landfill. We have to turn in reports to the state to make sure that we're providing a safe environment. And the way I look at it, when you see people that may be opposed to landfill, back years ago, when I was a boy, we used to burn our trash in a steel barrel outside, and the smoke went into there, so you was polluting the air. What didn't get burned, I'm sure, was thrown into creeks, so the water was running through it. So at least we've got a contained area that we can try to protect the environment from doing that. So that's about the only way that I can look at it, is from the way we used to do things to the way we do it today. Hopefully about 20 years from now, we'll quit digging holes and spending millions of dollars to put trash in it. Maybe there'll be another remedy to this situation. All right, moving on to item number 28 and 29. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve both of these when we get done. Melinda is here from the Highway Department, and if she wants to explain this, if y'all want her to, it was presented to the Budget and Finance and approved for recommendation to the County Commission. It's Resolution 5-2016-03, found on pages 60 through 61. You're moving money within your budget to cover expense items and no fund balance decrease. Is that correct? Okay. Any questions for Melinda? David?
This is the yearly budget, right?
It's what?
This is the yearly budget.
Yes, sir.
It's not broken down month by month.
No, it's yearly budget.
I didn't go through all this, Melinda. I'm sure we didn't go, but I counted at least 6 times the diesel is figured in here. There's other times like communication, it's mentioned more than one. Toll bills, it's mentioned more than one time. So why does it keep repeating itself?
This is just moving money within our budget for this fiscal year. And it, like, we haven't used the towing, so I've moved money around to different areas to cover other expenses.
David, I think probably and I'm not trying to answer for you, but when you're going through budget amendments, sometimes you're working with a certain portion of your budget, so you look for a place to take that from. Then you're working another portion, you'll look for a place to take that from. And I think that's probably what you did. You pieced, that's the reason it's repeated, because I know every budget is broken down, like the general fund is broken down into different departments. Even the highway department, they've got one for maintenance, one for office, and one for this. And so each one of those are looked at, and I'm sure that you find places to take that from. And that's the way I took it, the reason that you broke it down that way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wondering why it kept repeating over and over.
The way I understood that, Mr. Gross, is she was looking for a certain amount of money for this item, and she went to diesel, and maybe she took $1,000 out of diesel. Well, when she got down to another item, she needed a little more money, she had a little left in there, she goes back, she gets another 1,000 from diesel. And that would make it repeat itself down through the budget. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And this is just dealing with the 2015-16 budget, which we're fixing to finish up in June. Okay.
Also, where diesel cost was down so much this year, that gave us more money in those areas to move to different areas that we needed.
Any other questions on the highway department budget amendment request? All right, moving on to the school budget amendment request. Resolution 4, Mr. Barry Smith, Director of Schools, is here. Barry, do you want to explain this $100,000 transfer? I think I know, but I don't want to get it wrong, so if you would explain that to the county court, if you would, please, sir. Watch that cord there.
Our state comptroller, Rodney, you know, I can't remember his last name, you got the same one.
Marlin.
He came to us, which I thought was very fair, and basically asked us to put $100,000. We thought originally it was going to be $200,000 for, I call it overdraft protection. And Mayor Nesbitt had a great idea, had asked us about maybe a bank giving us a letter of credit. They wouldn't let that pass. It had to be an actual $100,000 set aside. It's money that's done in the budget for the 2015-16 year and going forward. It's just money we can't use, but it's said it has to sit there in case when money done approved that we got to bill them for. If it's wired in, it takes 6 to 9 days. So if we write you a check and you go cash it, there's a possibility that it wouldn't be there, and it's not to be touched. It's saved, but it's got to be there in that account. They didn't. It was silly, but it's what they asked us to do.
And actually, we've already approved a resolution that stated that this is just a budget amendment to cover it, correct?
Correct. I done brought it from the court, I think.
Yes, sir, you did. Any questions?
One question, are you allowed to put this into some type of interest bearing, or does it have to sit in that account?
It's got to sit in that earmark account.
And does that account earn?
It didn't draw any money, but I think the mayor may have asked that question too.
Yeah, and
Might put in the bank.
Right.
Well, Mr. Bill, I'll ask that when the comptroller's back.
actually what happens, Mr. Smith, of course, the trustee is the one that deals with all of that. She'll take out a certain portion of, whether it be the school funds or the county general funds, and set those aside into an interest-bearing CD as much as she feels like she can do that. And that's what, sometimes I'll bring that before y'all. So there's probably a portion of this that is earning interest, but what is in a regular checking account, no, it doesn't.
This, and without originally, with the numbers we did with this one, they told us originally 200,000. Which again, it's hard when you're trying to get by anyway, instead of $100,000 and not be able to do anything with it.
Other questions for Mr. Smith?
This won't have to be repeated, it's just
every year, though. I mean, it won't be any more, we're doing that now, but that 100,000, my understanding, has to set that until they tell us differently. Maybe they'll go to a new dirt, I don't know why they couldn't direct wire it, but
It's just like a reserve amount of money, like we have several reserves set up in the general fund, you just can't use it for anything else. It's there, it's your money, but you can't use it for anything else other than back up that Federal Reserve or that federal
We can't do
ACA.
anything with it.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I'm asking for a motion to approve Resolution 3 and 4. What's the will of the court?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Tommy Bain, here a second.
Second.
Saber Hodge. Motion and second. Approve
The highway department also.
yes, sir. That was Resolution 3 and 4.
You said that.
Yes, sir. Okay, I want to make sure I was right. Resolution 3 and 4. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton.
Yes.
Mark Jones.
Yes.
Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover. Philip Enoch.
Yes.
Billy Bass.
Yes.
Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps.
Yes.
Pam Billington.
Yes.
Shannon Minchie.
Yes.
Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan.
Yes.
Linda Nixon.
Yes.
Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel.
Yes.
Saber Hodge.
Yes.
Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon. Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross. Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. Now, I know we've had a lot of people waiting for this moment in time. There's several people that are here tonight concerning a public hearing on a rezoning request. It's item number 30, dealing with Resolution 05-2016-05. And I will turn this over to Ms. Sonia King, the Smith County Planning Land Use Director. At this time, Ms. Sonia, I turn the public meeting over to you, and then we'll request at the end of that whether the county commission would vote to approve the recommendation of the planning commission.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing, case 04-2016-01. It's a rezoning request being made by Francis Dykus and Edie Glover for map 021E, Group A, Parcel 6 and Parcel 7, located off Pyers Drive in Dixon Springs, Tennessee. The request is to rezone the property from RC Residential Commercial to C1 Commercial. The intended use is for a tow lot for a small amount of cars, which would have a privacy fence. The Smith County Planning Commission gave a recommendation to the Smith County Commission that the rezoning request be granted. Mr. Edie, would you like to speak to the commission as to your plans for the tow lot?
So go ahead and state your name, Mr. Glover.
All we're planning to do is to do rotation for Smith and Travis County. A few cars there that's no more than four, that it's not movable by themselves on their own motor and engine. A few cars maybe that, that can operate by themselves, maybe 4 or 5 of those. I understand we can go up to 30 on those if we need to, but I don't wish for it to happen like that. But just the cars that are inoperable, we won't be able to hold 4 cars in the lot at any time. This is our process to clean up that area, to make it look better, and to enable us to service Smith and Travis County a little more efficient and a little more economical. That's our intent. Are there any questions or anything?
Well, you intend to get on the rotation with the counties?
Yes, sir.
What you're going to do?
I'm not going to get this approved first before we take this step.
But that's your intention to get on the
That's
rotation
my
with the
intention,
counties?
yes, sir.
Mr. Gordon, you said you gave the number 4 inoperable.
Yes, sir.
I believe that's 3. I believe it
I thought
came
this
to
is 4. Maybe it's-
You can't go, you can have 3. When you go to 4, that's when you'd be in violation of the code.
3, yeah, that's
Yes, sir.
fine. That'll be fine. Any other questions or anything?
There may be more coming when we get to the resolution, but go ahead with your public hearing.
At this time, we'll take any public comments. Please state your name.
Anybody want to speak for or against? Go ahead, Beth. State your name, Beth.
My name is Beth Owen. My mother is Frances Baptist, owns the lot. Mr. Glover has came into this lot. This property's been unused for several years. It was a lot that was originally Hires Garage back in the 70s. He's been around, his petition was 20-something plus names on it, a 40-ish change. The Preservation Association of Dixon Springs, at the original meeting, had some opposition. They were concerned that this was going to be a junkyard lot. It is not that. The junkyard law still applies to this property, even though it may be zoned C1. And I may be mistaken that there are 2 parcels of land within this fenced-in lot. So whether it's 3 or 6 cars for the junkyard that are immobile, I'm not sure. But either way, he has come in and cleaned his property up. The property was grown with trees, not a real pretty sight, and had a lot of old farm equipment, tools, some for gas back up in the day, some of his metal business, stuff was there. So he came in, cleaned it up, made it look a lot better, and we are very appreciative of that. Like I say, it's been unused for several years. And I feel like this will be an asset to the community. The property is bordered with the Dixon Springs Market, or Stagecoach, I think it's called now, which technically should be a C1 property because it sells gas. So I feel like it should fit right into the community there. I think all of the questions were probably answered for the Preservation Association, which does border the property on one side. And we do want to keep this property looking good, and we are very pleased as far as many of the neighbors within the 500 feet of this property at the progress that Mr. Glover has made in cleaning this property and maintaining it. So far, he has put up a privacy screen at this point where no cars will be visible. And this property, if you're not familiar with it, has a 6-foot chain link fence with barbed wire at the top. This was used to store cars when it was owned by Hires Garage. So it is already fenced for the business that he's wanting to do. But we are pleased with the progress that he has made and what he has kept it. And I feel sure that this will be an asset to the community at this point.
Thank you. Any other public comments? No further comments, we'll close the public hearing.
Okay. We'll declare that the public hearing is closed and move on with business at hand. What is before you is Resolution 5, which is to be rezoning this property from RC to C1. As Ms. Oldham, as she made mention, there is a market there that we found out through a lot of our inquiries that there are some properties that when they did the rezoning, there were some that were missed. We've already had to correct some of those, and more than likely that is one that's going to be rezoned to C1 because of its use. And then if they say anything about it, it doesn't change their tax that they pay, but it's because they're taxed by the use regardless of what it's zoned. So, but we do need to get our zoning map corrected on those areas. And in the committee meeting, of course, Mr. Winfrey, you're part of the Planning Commission. I'm part of the Planning Commission. Who else might be here tonight? Maybe we're the only 2 members on that. There were several questions that were asked there that night, and I think one thing that kind of cleared things up for me, of course, as he said, the intended use is for a tow lot and for a small amount of cars. Anybody in this county that has a piece of property, by our zoning regulations, they could have up to 3 cars that are not running. Agree, Sonia? So that was one thing that kind of helped me, and of course we hope that that doesn't happen throughout the county, but that's by our zoning regulation. And then I had a little bit of an argument. I thought that if it was going to be a toll lot, that it should be an I-1 classification instead of a C1. And there was of course, there was a question about that, and our staff planner, said that he felt like this would fit under C1 under personal business clause. So I yielded to him, and our attorney seemed to agree with that. And one thing that was made clear, and I'm going to make sure again tonight, because I think I was one of the members that said that, Ms. Glover, you are clear on the fact that there cannot be more than 3. If there are 2 lots, that's an arguable argument there that there could be 3 on this lot and 3 on that. But I think everybody would agree that you want to be good neighbors regardless, and I think, Ms. Glover, you understand that's a beautiful area of our community. We want to try to keep that away, and I agree the lot looked pretty rough to begin with, and it's looking a lot better. So no disrespect to Ms. Dykes, all right? So with that being said, Jimmy, do you have any other comments? And there was a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission to rezone this piece of property. What is the will of the court on this recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion by David Gross, second. Philippine?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to hear in here. I don't know what it is. I can't hear. It might be I'm getting old. Got a motion and second to approve Resolution 5, which would rezone this piece of property from RC to C1, specifically map 21E, Group A, parcel 6 and 7. Anyone want to speak to the motion?
If you will, let me just do both.
If it does come down to a disagreement whether it's 3 vehicles per property, how's that going to be determined?
It's already determined by our zoning regulations. That's what it says.
3 for both properties?
Yes, sir. That's the way to be. We'd have to rewrite our zoning. Would you agree, Brandon? It says 3 per lot.
It's what it says.
Yep.
And of course, a lot of those things are subject to the court of equity or law interpretation too. We've historically, on those issues, given our notice and followed that up with a filing of the suit. So, and that's first sign, and every time we get the direct or I get the directive, we go forward with it. So.
And I did hear your request on getting District 2 to do that. Any other questions on the motion? All right, we're going to take a verbal vote, or roll call vote, starting with District 2.
Randy Glover,
Yes.
Philip Enoch,
Yes.
Billy Bass,
Yes.
Billy Halliburton,
Yes.
Mark Jones,
Yes.
Glenn Reese,
Yes.
Jimmy Winfrey,
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Pam Billington,
Yes.
Shannon Minchie,
Yes.
Josh Kirby,
Yes.
Ron Cowan,
Yes.
Linda Nixon,
Yes.
Bill Woodard,
Yes.
Barbara Knappel,
Yes.
Sabra Hodge,
Yes.
Charles Kent,
Yes.
Joey Nixon,
Yes.
Tommy Bain,
Yes.
Dennis Hackett,
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs,
Yes.
David Gross,
Yes.
Frank Woodard.
Yes.
Motion carries. And Mr. Glover, Ms. Dykes, Ms. Oldham, Mr. Oldham, just to let y'all know, this is the last step of that, so it's officially, Sonia, you'll make record of that, I'm sure, tomorrow. So it'll be whatever you need to do, or Mr. Glover do whatever you need to do there, but get with Sonia on your final portion of it, okay? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to item 31 and 32. I'd like to ask for both of these to be approved together. If you want one of them pulled out separately, we can. This is Resolution 6, which is dealing with the litter grant application. Each year we receive a grant from the state of Tennessee on our litter grant. That's $33,700. A lot of it is used for salaries. From the Sheriff's Department, he allows 2 people to work with the inmates. They go out through the county and they do pick up trash. They do work out a lot at the landfill, picking up trash and doing things out there. Also, but what they're doing at the landfill is paid for separately, but the litter grant pays for them out working in the county. They're pretty much out there working, Sheriff, about 3 days a week, something like that, at the landfill, or either 3 or 2 days they're out on the road. So we would like for permission to apply for that grant again, and I've already spoken to them. They feel like the grant will be within just a few dollars of what it was last year. So that's Resolution 6. And Resolution 7 is appointing our fire investigator. I did talk to Mr. Jason Powell this week, and he said he would be willing to accept this position for another year. It is reappointed each year. So does anybody want either one of these resolutions voted on separately?
Motion to approve both.
Got a motion by David Gross, second by Billy Bass, to approve Resolution 6 and 7. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That works a lot faster than verbal vote, doesn't it? All right, moving on to item 33, 34. Mr. Beller, I'm going to turn this over to you in just a moment. This is the Circuit Court Clerk's cash box with authorization cash on hand and Chancery Clerk and Master. And I would like for you to speak to this, if you would, Mr. Beller.
The audit, again, this goes back to the internal control procedures that we have for handling the funds. This is, as the mayor pointed out earlier, this has been an ongoing process. We've obviously got deadlines before June 30th of policies for different departments, but this is just one step in this. Both our clerk and master and our circuit court clerk's office, there were certain deficiencies that audit had found, and this was their recommendation, taken verbatim from their requirements to cure the deficiencies. And once this is approved as a matter of way of resolution, they didn't want to do it. I could not understand, and I still don't understand why we could not do that as an internal policy. They said it had to be done by resolution. But what you have is verbatim taken from their requirement for each department in order to cure the deficiencies that they found. I sent a copy to Mr. Turner and Mr. Delahaye Bowles. They have actually, I believe Mr. Delahaye reported back to me that he had actually had CTAS look at this as well, and they had approved the measures that we're taking in order to cure those deficiencies. So that's all it's about. Just more what we've been working toward in getting the making sure that all our finances and our monies that are held on hand with each cash box for each deputy is appropriate. If you'll notice, the only real difference between the two is $300 for the circuit court and $100 for the clerk and master. That's because that's for each deputy would be assigned their particular cash box. 3 with the clerk's office, 1 with the clerk and master.
Any questions for Mr. Beller? And Mr. Beller, you would recommend that this really needs to be done to satisfy the requirements that audit's put on, right?
It does.
Okay.
What it does is make sure that this one with this cash box is responsible for theirs and theirs alone. This one theirs and theirs alone.
Makes it easier for auditing and that, I guess for lack of a better description, the glass house with regard to handling of public finance.
And also, Mr. Enoch, the internal controls policy that we're speaking of, when it's all said and done, it will go through the process that they'll make deposits, they'll go through how they're balancing it, it'll go through a lot of those things, because the whole point is, if me and you're working in an office, I don't need to be taking all the money, depositing all the money, and taking it to the bank. It needs to be separation of duties, and also those cash drawers. If me and you are working together, we might trust each other, but honestly, in that kind of situation, we need to keep our own cash drawer, and that's what this allows that to happen. And I suppose this question has come up, I don't know if Mr. Turner has talked to you, where would that money come from? Would it come from their collections that they have, or is it going to have to come from our fund balance? What will happen?
Money needs to come from the fund balance, is what really needs to happen. It needs to be transferred over from that portion of it. That way they've got that cash on hand.
Okay, because the money that they're collecting is owed to somebody.
That's correct, because that's, again, that goes into a separate item where they could actually have to disperse that out to another individual, say judgment collections and that sort of thing, or sheriff's department, whoever it belongs to.
So voting for these, if that's what happens, would also allow us to do a budget amendment for these amounts, which was a total of $400.
They were supposed to make a deposit every 3 days, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It'll be a total of $500. One of them is $400 and one of them is $100. A total of $500. What's the will of the commission on resolutions 8 and 9?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Josh Kirby. Here a second.
I second.
second by Ms. Linda Nixon. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton. Mark Jones. Glenn Reese. Randy Glover. Philip Enoch. Billy Bass. Jimmy Winfrey. Carolyn Bowles. Daniel Cripps. Pam Billington. Shannon Minchie. Josh Kirby. Ron Cowan. Linda Nixon. Dale Woodard. Barbara Knappel. Saber Hodge. Charles Kent. Joey Nixon. Tommy Bain. Dennis Hackett. Thomas Gibbs. David Gross. Frank Woodard.
Motion carries. Item number 35, consideration of continuing current TCRS contribution rate. If you look on page 73, look at the first paragraph. It tells that there's attached information with this letter, do an evaluation report, and the last sentence of that paragraph says, we encourage you to consider electing to pay a higher rate to protect against upward pressure on employment rates in the future. All right, if you'll turn to page 77, it gives you a history of what the investment rate of return has been on the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. Ms. Davis, which is our HR director in my office, which covers all of the office's HR except for the highway department and the school. She went to a conference they had on this, or training they had on this. What's going to happen next year, our rate is going to go up. All right, this year is coming down by what they've anticipated to be to 6.82. Right now we're paying 7.15. What they're asking us to do is to consider to continue our current rate of 7.15. And Mr. Nixon, every budget that has been turned into us has been figured on a 7.15 because when we started, we didn't really know what that rate was going to be. But we do know what it could be. It could be the 6.82, but next year it might be 8%. Well, or it could be 8.5%. And that is, they give us that, and we have to adjust that to stay in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. We have to adjust to it. What it amounts to, when ours lowers or raises as far as the county, for the employee of the county, their retirement, they put in 5%, their portion stays at a steady rate. And the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System is a good retirement system, one of the strongest in the nation. And because of that, that's the reason they're asking us to consider this. So I'm bringing this before you, before we turn in a final budget to you. We need to know what direction we want to go in. Do we want to honor their request, or do we want to go down to the 6.82% figure? So I open that up for discussion.
If you do the 7.1 this year, it drops to 6.8 next year. They give you credit for that just stays in there at 7.1.
Yes, sir. What it amounts to, possibly this year's could be figured at that 6.82%. We could lower it this year. Then next year, when the new figure comes out, if it goes to 8%, we really hadn't gained a lot. You know, we either pay now or that will help. If every county government does that in the state, it's going to help that portion that we would have to match. Like I said, it's already figured into the budgets that we have presented, and all of them have been presented. Other discussion, questions? Now, I have explained this to even to employees. All right, you put in 5%, the county puts in 7.15%. You got to stay here 5 years to be fully vested. If you quit in 4 years, you get your money. The state gets our money because they don't give it back to the county. I mean, it goes and it stays at the county. But I want them to be clear, they don't lose their money. It's just the portion that the county gives to the state. They keep it with the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. So my request would be to honor their request. Did we vote, Joey, did we vote by Budget and Finance?
I'm not sure if we took a vote or not.
Okay, you remember. Okay. Okay. Anyway, our request is to honor their request. That's my request, that we go ahead and do that. It's not going to hurt us any to do that.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Bill Woodard, here a second. Second by Joey Nixon. Have a motion and a second to approve the higher rate, which is really going to be the same rate for us at 7.15%. We've already figured that in their budget. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Billy Halliburton.
Yes.
Mark Jones.
Yes.
Glenn Reese.
Yes.
Randy Glover.
Yes.
Philip Enoch. Billy Bass. Jimmy Winfrey.
Yes.
Carolyn Bowles. Daniel Cripps. Pam Billington. Shannon Minchie.
Yes.
Josh Kirby.
Yes.
Ron Cowan.
Yes.
Linda Nixon. Bill Woodard.
Yes.
Barbara Knappel. Sabra Hodge. Charles Kent.
Yes.
Joey Nixon.
Yes.
Tommy Bain.
Yes.
Dennis Hackett.
Yes.
Thomas Gibbs.
Yes.
David Gross.
Yes.
Frank Woodard.
Yes.
Motion carries. One of the latter, or actually the last motion we'll be asking for approval of the notary list on page 78. What's the will of the commission on the notaries?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tommy Bain, second by David Gross, to approve the notary list as presented. Anyone want to speak to the motion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, page 79, we present a fund balance report to you each year. Our estimated value, this is a little bit wrong. Our estimated when we did the budget last year was like $900,129. The audit came out, our fund balance as of June the 30th of 2015 was actually over that amount. So by the time we get through with this year, our estimated fund balance was going to be $1,141,909. This is not incorrect. I just didn't put enough information on there. We started off with a little bit, I think it was $1,000,001 for this year that we're in. We have subtracted some items, as you see down through. We've tried to keep up with that per month and what it was for. And we'll have some more budget amendments. So I can get into that in a minute in our next meeting. But our estimated fund balance at the end of this year is estimated to be $936,407.38. So that's for informational purposes. Before we ask for a motion to adjourn, we've been working very hard on the budget. Don't know exactly. You know how many meetings, Joey? Several. All right. We have had several meetings on the budget. All of them have went very well. Everybody has presented their budgets this year. There have been several requests. We've had one meeting since everybody has proposed. The Budget and Finance now are working through the request, whether we can do them, whether we can't do them, how we're going to end up, with the year, what we're going to be able to do with other funds, general fund, drug fund, general debt service, education debt service, highway department. The school has two budgets, 141 and 143. I think that's the federal project, 142. Either way, it's going good. We feel like that we will pass our budget June the 30th of this year. If that happens, I don't know, Billy, while you were in office, were you ever able to do it by June 30th? I've not been able to, so were you ever able to?
July.
Yeah. Normally, and I think that's the earliest we've been was in July. The state requirement, state law is you're supposed to pass your budget by June the 30th. And they're getting stricter and stricter and stricter. This year we started earlier where we can get that done, and it looks like we're going to make it. So with that being said, there will probably be a special called meeting in June. I'm tentatively setting that date, if you want to write it down, for June the 27th, which is the last Monday of June, giving us all the time we can possibly get. And during that meeting, it'll be a special called meeting, so whatever we list in the paper, that's all that we can discuss. There's going to be some last-minute budget amendments where we can keep, we have been written up in years past for not amending our budgets. One, it hits us as corner. We can't control that. We set a certain amount. If there's a lot of people that get sent to the coroner's office, that elevates that. One year we got written up for that. We had a fire in Carthage, and there were several people that had to be sent off to the coroner's office. So things that we can control sometimes, but by June the 27th, we should see everything we're going to see and get those final budget amendments in. Also, we can approve our budget or request it to be approved. And so I'm just giving y'all that information that we'll have that meeting June the 27th if everything works out fine. Joy, would you agree with that? All right. All right. Yeah, that's the reason I didn't say much. All right. There was a young man that was here, and I failed to introduce him. I'm sorry about that. He's a young man. His last name is Morris. And he's the one that we presented that picture to Chamber of Commerce banquet about doing something with the Rome Ferry. So those commissioners that are from there, you've got a young man that is working on his Eagle Scout project, and he's taken on that task. Where we are at this point in time is we've got a surveyor that's shooting elevation on that area where we can tell and turn into the Corps of Engineers, you know, what we're going to do as far as cutting and filling, which you can't really fill any more than you take out. We've got an engineer that's willing to help us with it. He's willing to work with the young man with his Eagle Scout project. So I failed to mention him, so I mentioned him now. He was sitting over here with his father. But he's a young man working towards his Eagle Scout project. There's been a lot of Boy Scouts that have worked on Eagle Scout projects in Smith County, and most of them take on tasks that at first you think, I don't see how they're going to get that done, but they get it done. There's been several things that have been done at Lock 7, and they've really made our park a lot better at Lock 7. So if you see him, if y'all happen to see him out and about, I apologize for not introducing him, but he's one working on that. And I think that's all. Oh, excuse me. I was given this. Judge Collins has asked me to invite all of you that are here and listening via Smith County Insider. Drug court graduation, 8:30, Wednesday, May the 18th, Smith County Justice Center. Judge Collins presiding, held in the General Sessions Courtroom, and breakfast will be served. So that's May the 18th at 8:30. Almost forgot. Good thing I got Daisy right here.
If
Sir.
you think we could talk, Mr. West, and put a little something in the paper about that project he's doing at Rome Ferry, where him and his daddy and his family will know that we talked about it up here. They have to.
We would make that request.
He can do us a big favor.
Yes, sir. Eddie let me know a long time ago he puts what he wants to in the paper. So, no, right, Eddie. But we would make that request that Eddie would do that. He does a great job for us. We appreciate Carthage Courier for what they do for us. But Eddie, if you could ask me some information maybe tomorrow, I'll get you some more on it, okay? All right. Also, Dennis?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
have we had any prospects, like any new businesses or industries coming into the county looking to relocate here or move into here?
Working with one right now. Of course, it's not on the agenda, so, but most of the time we just discuss items on the agenda. We're working with one right now, but the biggest problem is, Dennis, we got a lot of employers that can't find nobody to work right now. So that's the biggest hurdle that we have to face in Smith County. That's going to be my answer to you. Of course, I'll get to you in just a minute there, Mr. Woodard. But answer is yes, but I can tell you right now we have 4 employers that hire people right now. And if you don't believe me, call me tomorrow and I'll get them a job. I'll get them a meeting with them and they can get a job. If somebody wants to find a job in Smith County, they can find it. That's the biggest problem right now, which Mr. Woodard's probably going to tell how we're trying to overcome that. Mr. Woodard?
Well, I was just going to mention there's an article in the Oklahoma Business Journal. Not only are we having that problem, but this entire region. And there are actually some folks that are in the construction business, house building, roofing, and name 3 or 4 others that are actually considering closing down their businesses because they can't find anybody to work in those fields. And so therefore, house building is slowing down and it's actually costing more to build a house. And it mentions this in the article if you want to read it. The other thing I'm not mentioning is that we've got some folks that are looking at retail spaces here in Carthage and looking in Gordonsville. And so there are things that are happening, and a lot of times you don't see things opening up because either people can't get the financing to get it done, or they can't find a space that's suitable for what they're doing. But there's more happening right now than has been happening in a couple of years.
But Dennis, I can't really express enough how much that employers need good employees. I mean, most of them will tell you the number one hurdle they got to climb or get over is people passing a drug test. And I can't understand that. I mean, you can't go to work at a place if you can't pass a drug test. You can't come to work for Smith County government if you can't pass a drug test. And then the second thing is they're telling us is they won't come to work on time. They work a few weeks and say it's too hard, and they leave. But I will say this. One thing that was done this year through the director of schools, Mr. Barry Smith, a lot of his staff members, which I don't even want to try to name all of them because I wouldn't remember them all. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Billy Woodard, and myself, we had a career day at the Ag Center. somewhere between probably 1,300, 1,400 students from 7th grade through 12th grade were through the Ag Center in a day and a half. If I'm not mistaken, we had 22 schools represented and 30-something employers that were represented there. Their goal that day was not to hire 7th graders and 8th graders, which you know you can't do that anyway. Their goal was to talk to them and tell them, this is what you're going to have to come to work for us or to go to school where we at this place. We had anywhere from colleges to diesel colleges. There was one young lady come in the door thinking she was going to head down this career path. Time she talked to a local veterinarian, she decided she may look at looking at being a veterinarian. So hopefully that goes into their mind. They had classes going on, 2 different classes on the right and left hand of the stage, had curtains set up, and they were going through job interview skills, how to dress, how to show up to work on time, those kind of things. Hopefully by the time that 7th grader hears that, I believe it's 6 times, they'll catch on to this. And that's our goal, is to make Smith County different than other places, because it's kind of makes me a little nervous when I hear that, because there are places that are looking at doing business in places in Tennessee. If they hear it's hard to get employees, it could make them steer to another direction, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to do our best to try to fix it here in Smith County.
I understand that. I know we're going through it right now where I work at. I mean, I've trained, in the last month, I've trained 2 different individuals. Out of the 3, as one's only stayed and continued to work, the other 2 decided to go elsewhere. I understand that, and yes, we need to stress that, highly. But, my concern is too, all our counties around us is growing by leaps and bounds with new businesses and corporations coming in, and I would like to see some of that come our way if possible. I mean, we need to kind of work toward bringing in, more businesses and stuff like that here to this county to help bring in the revenue to help with our, taxes and stuff like that, but help keep all the time raising our property taxes on everybody. I mean, that would really help our county out a whole lot.
Well, let me clear a little bit of that up, Dennis. This year's property tax is going to bring in $700 more than it did last year on a penny. That's an increase of $100-something thousand. Sonia, we normally have 30 to 40 building permits. So far, we've already had 80, and we still have 2 more months to go. Our sales tax is going through the roof, and we're increasing quite a bit. So when I say that, I mean, it makes it out sound like we're going to raise taxes. If everything goes just like we think it's going to be, we're not going to raise taxes. All right, so I want you to know that up front. And there are businesses that are growing, so I don't want anybody to leave here today. We don't have that Amazon, we don't have the Academy Sports, but let me tell you what you got to have an Amazon, or to have a Academy Sports, or you have an Under Armour. You got to have at least 500 acres of land. All right, and I'm going to pass this off to you, Dennis. If you can find me 500 acres of land in Smith County that has infrastructure to it, we'll go buy it tomorrow. And I promise you that, because it's not there. We have some land in Gordonsville that we're looking at right now. We've already applied for a grant through TVA to try to get a road to it. It will open up somewhere around 40 to 50 acres of land for industrial development. You can't sell a cow pasture. I found that out in 12 years. You go out there, you just can't do it. You've got, in this market that we're in today, you got to have a pad-ready site. I already spoke to the Budget and Finance Committee about it the other day. Hopefully, we're going to bring something before you someday. We're going to purchase some property. Josh, I know you're a real estate agent. Love for you to find that piece of property. It's hard to find. It really is in Smith County. And it doesn't help us with our topography in Smith County. What's flat, it looks good. It looks like you could build a lot on it. It's in a floodplain. All right? If it's up on a hill and it's out of the floodplain, it's doing this number. So what they're telling us, I mean, I've been through the economic development classes. Mr. Woodard's been through it. And we've been working on this for years. What we've got to do, we've got to buy some property, and we've got to excavate the property to get it to a pad-ready site with sewer, water, telecommunications, everything right to it. If you don't, you're not going to market Smith County. All right. Now, I have tried to get private developers to work on this, because me personally, I don't think county government ought to be doing that, because that's what private developers do. I got in the way of a private developer one time when we done some development here in Smith County. He let me know real quick he could have done that and made a living with it. Instead, the county took it away from him. We built our facility in South Carthage, which we rent that out. So I learned a little bit of a lesson. I worked with two different developers. One of them pulled the plug because the piece of property that he had the northeastern wing bat possibly on it. So with that, it kept us from developing that piece of property. So those are things we deal with every day. All right, then another one was, he was ready to build a 100,000 square foot industrial building on it. There was a pond on it, and they told him that it was for flood control. They built the pond to do certain job within that site, and they wouldn't let him tear the pond out. So guess what? He said, I'm done. So those are some of the things we fight every day. So even though you don't see it, those are some of the things that we face every day. Ms. Barber? And I'm not trying to throw a negative on that, Dennis, but I want you to know that's something that I work on every day. I was on the phone today. I've got a meeting with the guy tomorrow, looking at a facility here to employ about 50 people. And if it all works out, I'm going to be the hero. If it don't, I'll be the zero. So, and you know, that's the way it is sometimes, you know, or we all will be, one of the two.
I just wanted to mention when you were talking about the weekend labor force that we have because of drug tests that cannot be passed, and we see that a lot. We've been looking at that with the 3 years that we've been here with the coalition. We partnered with the Chamber of Commerce and have offered free drug-free workplace training to a lot of businesses and offices in the community. But I think there are other people that could be involved with the coalition that might help us with that weekend workforce. So we do meet this Wednesday, the second Wednesday of each month. I think more people in the community need to be involved in the coalition and help with the solutions. And one of them is that weekend workforce that we have here. So we meet this Wednesday at the 11th. Yeah, at 11 o'clock at the Chamber of Commerce. We'd love to have your help with the coalition.
And we're dependent a lot too, Dennis. I mean, I know we've discussed this a lot, but we're dependent a lot on the cities because they're the ones that supply the sewer. The county don't own sewer plants. Here in Smith County, Carthage owns one, Gordonsville owns the other. So we're dependent upon them to push out that sewer to other property to try to develop it. And if you just do some research, it don't go far. It goes to, sometimes it don't even cover all the city limits. And so those are other things that we're pretty good on telecommunication. We're really good on water. I'd say we're real good on telecommunication too because we have a local DTC provider that provides a lot of high-speed trafficking on that portion. But sewer is a big thing to be able to get out to areas that could be developed. And then you'll deal with infrastructure, which honestly we can deal with roads. Roads is by the state, and some infrastructure, if we can get, there's some places where we can get money from the state of Tennessee to help us develop, and that's what we're working with TVA right now. So hopefully we can get there at some point in time, but I can't stress the need that we need some property. And if there's not a private developer that's going to do it, we're going to have to step up and do it, okay?
When you talk to the young people, my granddaughter went through, was excited about, was it mentioned that drug awareness, that they couldn't get a job if they were on drugs? I mean, sometimes if they hear it from parents and grandparents, it just, circles through their head. But if they hear other adults like Ms. Bob, then they, oh, well, that's important. So that was.
Yes, well, it was one of the classes, that was a portion of one of the classes, I believe it was the one that Melinda Spivey's husband, he taught it. I was one of the presenters, and also Barbara had a booth there. So that was present there, and I think when they left her that day, they heard that. And like I said, I don't know that we can get through, seniors are just, they're fixing to be out the door, and so hopefully we can train those over a period of time. Okay. All right. Here, one more comment, then I'll make ask a motion to adjourn.
One last thing. In the month of April, I received 4 flyers of people that were looking for employees, job offers from starting from $10 to $18 an hour on the flyer. All they have to do is go apply. That's 4 different things that are here around the county and in the county. Second thing I'd like to say is the city of Pigeon Forge has no industry in it. They have the lowest tax rate of anybody, as far as I am aware, in the state. And the reason is because of tourism. And you know what, those rolling hills that you're talking about, well, we got rivers and we've got scenes and we've got stuff like that. And tourism may not ever be as big here as it is in Sevier County, but it can approach way more than it is now. And we work toward that. That will help drive our tax rate down as much as anything else. And I've got 20 cousins that come from Florida every year, go up to the park up here at Defeated Creek. They sit in that park for 2 weeks. They come down here to the grocery store and they buy steaks and drinks and all kinds of stuff, and that's just for a week. And then the wonderful part is they get in their camper and they go back home. They don't bother our schools. They have so far not used our hospitals, and they don't tax our infrastructure, but they leave their money here. And those people are good to have.
Right.
We love tourists.
Right. Now, I may call on you at some point. Our next meeting or meeting after that, we may go ahead and ask you to give a report on those kind of things. That'd be good. Okay.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to recognize Jay Baden. He's with Youth Leadership. So, stand up, Jay.
Now, he's already graduated, ain't he, Bill? Have you already graduated? Okay.
Well,
And the reason I didn't recognize you, Jay, as I asked, I said, will there be anybody here from the youth leadership? And I thought you said no, and I thought you was here for another reason, so I apologize, sir.
He hasn't received his diploma yet, but he'll get it at awards day when they have it at Gordon.
Gotcha. Good to have you. And Miss Baden, good to have you. I'm going to come to the Gordon for graduation just to hear you speak. All right. Actually, I've got a niece. I got a niece that's graduating, so, but I'd be good, 2 good purposes. All right. They're here. Motion to adjourn, please. Who did that? Motion by Josh Kirby. Here a second. Second by Frank Woodard. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Good.